Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency, at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com. And by Avidia Bank, at www.avidiabank.com.
Time is now 6:35 p.m. Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means, you have a couple of appointments if you'd like to get started.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, Mrs. Kohler.
Thank you.
My name is Pauline Cormier. I am the Chairwoman of Ways and Means. The other two members of my committee are to my left, Councilor Frank Ardinger, and directly across from me is Councilor Sue Shalafo-Zephyr. This is the 6:35 p.m. interviews that are scheduled for tonight. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individuals to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire April 15th, 2026. We have Susan Kohler, who is here with us. I don't see the other person, but maybe he'll come in while we're doing your interview. So you get to go first. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
I think you know everyone who is here. So what I would like to do is just open this up and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, for those that don't know you, and a little bit about the reasons why you wanted to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Sure. So, again, my name is Suzanne Kohler, 541 Miriam Avenue, and I've been a resident of Leominster for 42 years, transplanted from New York, New Jersey area.
So could you put your microphone on?
Yeah. Is it on now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a transplant from New York, New Jersey area, and I feel the best way to get to know a community is to be involved. So I just spent my last 28 years on the Leominster School Committee, held several positions, and got involved also at the state level for Mass Association for School Committees. And again, the friendships, the people that you meet are just invaluable. I'm also active in the community. I'm a Leominster Lion, and we do community work. I currently work at Sterilite Corporation in Townsend, and I just handed in my retirement notice. So I will be retiring shortly, and will have all this time to do more community service work. So I'm really looking forward to helping the community in a different role other than, school committee, and I hope I can make a difference on the zoning board. I've been reading up on it and understand that it's a board of unpermitted use, and I find it pretty interesting, so I hope I can do a good job and look forward to working with a new board in the city.
Excellent. Just, quickly for the people that don't know, that are tuning in, the Zoning Board of Appeals is responsible for hearing applications submitted for special permits and variances, and they relate to the interpretation and administration of the City of Leominster zoning ordinances. The board also hears appeals of the decision of the building inspector, and all decisions relating to the building inspector's interpretation of the zoning ordinance may be appealed. And they also hear and decide on comprehensive permit applications. So it sounds like you're retiring at the perfect time, because that's going to be a lot of work.
Right. Yes. I've already got my first packet, and I've been very involved in that, so,
Excellent.
yes,
Excellent.
yes.
I'm going to open this up to members of my committee. If you have any questions, I'll first go to Councilor Arndinger.
Thank you. Susan, it's, I guess, none of us need an introduction. You've known everybody here for more years than we can count on. Your work on the school committee was fantastic.
Thanks, Frank.
And I really don't have any questions except to say, welcome aboard. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councilor Shalafo Zephyr.
Thanks. Thanks very much. Sue has spent a lot of her working life professionally in accounting and in finance, which requires very detail-oriented, skill set, and a lot of patience, I think, and a lot of thoroughness. And I think that those skills are going to really well serve you in this position because it's a tough one. You just heard the description,
Right.
that the Chair of Ways and Means read out, and it's a tough.
Right.
A lot of those problems, are pretty gnarly. So, anyways, thank you very much, Sue, for stepping up and agreeing to serve on the commission.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the council who have any questions, comments? Councilor Frida.
We certainly all know Sue's dedication to the school committee for over 30 years and the hard work she did there, and always an ability to show up. And I think that's one of the things we've had lacking with some of our boards is absenteeism, and Sue is certainly reliable. But I will say she's a quick learner, and first conversation we had about her being on the zoning board was she was well aware of the fact that it was a board of non-permitted uses, so she's learned that much already. So I'm sure she's going to do a great job.
Thank you. Any other members of the council have any questions, comments? I'm sorry, Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sue, thank you again for your years of service. You're a talented and accomplished individual, and I know you'll be a welcome addition to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I'm going to keep my comments brief because I want to get you out of here before it starts snowing. So thank you again for all the work you've done and all
Thank
the
you.
work that you'll be doing on behalf of the city in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kohler, I just want to say thank you, and we've all had the opportunity to review your resume. It's impressive. We all know your history with the city and your dedication. So I want to issue my thanks as well. And it'll be my recommendation to appoint you this evening, and we will check with the other members of the committee. But if you would like to stick around for a few minutes, hopefully we can move this up on the agenda and get this done and get you out of here before the storm comes.
Madam
Thank
Chair, if I may, we have a couple extra minutes anyway before we can start our next hearing. So I just want to say that I've known Sue as well for many, many years now, working together on the Lions Club and, other mutual friends. And I know that you'll be an asset, to anything you do, and certainly understand your role, and you'll do a good job. So welcome, and I certainly
Thank
look
you.
forward to your confirmation tonight. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, to help in any way, don't be afraid to reach out so that we can understand what support, whatever support we can give to make things a little better for any board or commission in the city. So I know
Thank you.
you'll do that too if you need to. Thank you. Thank you again for stepping up to the plate.
Thank you.
Thank you. And while she leaves, Mr. President, we also had an interview scheduled with Mark Piccioni, and I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. I don't see him this evening. Perhaps we can reach out and put him on for the reschedule for the next meeting, if that's available.
Okay. All right, sure. We have just a few minutes before we can...
No.
Oh, no, actually, sorry. I'm looking at... It is past 6:40, so you may begin on the 6:40 interview.
Thank you. This is the 6:40 interview, and I'm going to ask Mr. Ya Asante Adao to come into the chambers, please. This is the 6:40 interview. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individual to the Leominster Housing Authority, term to expire 4/15 of 2026. And welcome, Mr., is it Adao? Adu. And just for those at home that don't, just a little definition for the Leominster Housing Authority. It's the agency's mission is to provide safe, secure rental subsidies for families, elderly, handicapped or disabled persons. Both the state and federal governments fund the programs. Depending on the program, applicants can be housed either in a private sector dwellings or apartment complexes owned by the Leominster Housing Authority. Mr. Adu? I'm going to get that wrong. I apologize.
That's okay.
Would you please just introduce yourself to the council, tell us a little bit about your background and why you want to be on the Housing Authority?
Good evening to all. Hello. Good evening to all. My name is Siao Asante Ado. I originally come from Ghana on the west coast of Africa. I was born in Ghana, moved out here 1993. And I stopped in California. I worked for 2 months over there, and then a brother in Worcester invited me to come over. So I came over to Massachusetts in April of '93. I worked with Clegon Oil for a while, and then there was an opening in the school department in Fitchburg. So I applied for it, and I got a janitor's position. So I worked over there until December of '98, and then an opening came to the DPW. So I shifted over to DPW, worked until 2013 when I had a fall, and then I had a dislocation shoulder. So with my hospitalization and therapy, it came to a point the doctor said the arm wasn't going to be 100%, and the department let me go because they said with one hand you couldn't do any manual. So I've been out on an early retirement since 2013, and I've been doing little ordinary jobs here and there. And I moved into the housing unit on Crossman Ave about 5 years ago. And I've been there since. And then the manager at the department got in touch and wanted to know if I had some free time that I could help with the housing board. And I said, yeah, because I'm just on retirement, nothing doing, and it's kind of boring. So if I can get something that will keep me going, then I'll take it. So I told her, yeah, I was interested. So they had me write a letter to the mayor's office, and then about a week ago, I had a call and said I got an interview this evening. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I want to say welcome, and for those who don't know that, as part of the Housing Authority Board, there is a seat that's made for a tenant, so someone who lives in the residence.
Okay.
So you'd be filling in that portion, which is a very important portion because no one knows what's going on better than the person who's living there and living in it every day.
Good.
And you're going to work with a diversity of people.
Yep.
And how are you working with people? I'm guessing you've worked with the DPW and the school system. So
Yeah, I like to get along with everybody. I just like to work. So if the work is there, I like to get it done and get done neatly so that people enjoy whatever I do. So I hope I can get a chance to work with different people and then help them with whatever needs they got.
thank you. I'm going to open this up for questions. I'm going to go to the counselor on my left, Frank Ardinger.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming down, and thank you for volunteering for this position. It's going to be a difficult job, because you're going to be representing a lot of people, with a lot of different types of problems, and it's going to be one that takes a lot of skill in negotiating, I guess,
Okay.
And so you seem to feel confident that you can do that, correct?
I can.
I just have one question. Low-income housing is a problem throughout the state, throughout the country, as a matter of fact. Do you have any thoughts on what can be done to help improve low-income housing?
Yes, from what I can see, there's been a lot of renovations in the units. So it's like whatever was in there before has been taken out and new ones have been put in, and they keep checking on it every now and then to make sure that they stay as they brought them in. And I think it's helped a lot because right now, there are not, when I moved in initially, it used to be noisy, but the managers got in there, and right now, it's like when it's around 6:37, it's like a cemetery. Everybody is in their homes. Nobody comes out, and it's helped a lot. It keeps it safe.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Councilor Shalafo Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Adu. Adu. Thank you very much, for volunteering, and I think knowing that you're a resident, of one of the facilities that Leominster Housing Authority has jurisdiction over, I think that's just so helpful because you really understand, day to day what the issues are. And I know that there are lots, or have been lots of issues, but I also know that there have been a lot of improvements made. And you just mentioned a lot of the renovations, and I know that that's been the case. Bathrooms have been renovated, kitchens, new refrigerators, and things like that. So thank you very much. We're really happy to have you on board. I certainly am. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but thank you. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Any other councilors have any questions, any comments? Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Adu, thank you so much for
Welcome.
volunteering for this position, and I know you'll probably be very happy if you're appointed this evening, but I hope you're happy a year from now as well, if you're getting all the phone calls you may get as a result of this. So sometimes they say, be careful what you wish for. Thank you. So welcome to the position.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other council members? Mr. Adu, I want to thank you very much for coming in tonight. I will ask the president a little bit later on if we can bump up this appointment and take it to a vote. And I want to thank you for volunteering and agreeing to do this. And I hope that you know that you can call upon us at any time and for whatever help you may need and whatever we can do to assist you in this new position.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And we can move right into the 6:45.
This is the 6:45 interview. Dean J. Mazzarella requests the appointment of the following individual to the Cultural Commission, term to expire 4/15/2026. Matthew Valeri. Valeri. I'm just going to get it wrong all night long. And while Mr. Valeri comes up, and everyone should have his resume, I just want to explain to people at home that might not be aware, but the Cultural Council carefully evaluates and awards grants that support the arts, sciences, and humanities to improve and contribute to the diversity of our community. The grants are funded with the policies and guidelines set by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, with the annual amount subject to legislative appropriations. The Leominster Cultural Council, LCC, gathers input from the community and develops funding priorities based on this feedback, and priority is given to applications from local artists, organizations, or groups that have secured a local venue. So, Mr. Valeri? Valeri. I think it's just me. Welcome.
Thank you.
And this is your opportunity to introduce yourselves to the council and to the people watching at home, and give us some background on you and why you want to be part of the Cultural Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Madam Vice President. Thank you, Mr. President, and the rest of the councilors for allowing me to come in front of you tonight. So I started my love of the arts in high school, like a lot of young people doing musicals in high schools. That continued through college. And even though I sort of stopped performing while I had kids and while they grew up, we still continue that love of arts. I have 2 young twins, and we always brought them to museums. We always instilled the love of arts inside them. I'm born and bred in Leominster. Lived in Leominster almost all my life. Moved to Florida for 6 months. Realized sunshine is not for me. Moved from Florida to Fitchburg for a couple of years, and then decided to come back home to Leominster, and then lived here for the rest. So another thing that I've done is my wife and I, with another associate of ours, started Stageworks. We're a performing arts group. We did some performances here at City Hall, at St. Anna's. Now we are in residence at the St. Bernard's High School in Fitchburg. We just started there, and we've had a couple of shows there. We love bringing the performing arts to the community, but we also love growing people. So one thing that when we created the company that we wanted to instill is we wanted to let the cast know we were cast forward. So our cast and crew, we call them our first customers because they see our product months before anybody in the audience does. And our product isn't exactly the shows. Our product is the experience. So we give them a good experience, they put on a great performance, and the audience members just, it creates enjoyment in them. So we really are not only just bringing the arts to the community, but we want to see people grow. We want people to get better every show. We want to inspire the next generation of directors, the next generation of stage managers, the next generation of producers, so we can continue this artistic endeavor. On the other side of it, in my work life, I work for the Massachusetts Port Authority. I'm an airport operations shift manager at Worcester Airport, which means that when I'm on duty, I'm responsible for basically everything that happens at the airport, everything except for air traffic control. Everyone always says, oh, do you direct traffic? No, everything but that. But all maintenance on the airfield, the customer's experience in the terminal, the facilities, I'm responsible for that in any time that I'm on shift. I also have my master's in business administration. So what I like to say is I bring the practicality to the arts. That's my job. I'm the president of our board, and that's what I do. There's a lot, I will admit, there's a lot more people that are way more artistic than I am, but I love the arts and I love inspiring that, and my contribution is sort of the business side. So I'm very versed in federal regulations on the aviation side, so I can deal with federal regulations and state regulations, and I think that's what I can also bring to the Cultural Council.
Excellent. I want to thank you for your enthusiasm. We can feel it.
Yes.
All the way here. I'm going to open this up for questions. Councilor Ardinger?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Matthew, I hate to tell this, but I'm going to tell some stories on you, okay?
Okay.
I actually, the second time I met Matthew, the first time was at the airport, Fitchburg Airport, a long time ago, but he presented to the Rotary Club maybe 6 to 8 months ago.
Yes.
You know, and introduced us to Stageworks, and it was very impressive. Shortly after that, he had a performance up here in the auditorium.
Correct.
And it was super. My tongue gets tied. Super performance, okay. And then this past weekend, he had a performance at St. Bernard's High School, a cabaret. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I've never seen a more enthusiastic cast, great singers, and just a great job. So from a professional perspective, you're obviously stepping out of your professional role, but into a role that I know that you'll do very well in the Cultural Commission, because I've seen you in action.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Shalafo-Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for coming down. Stageworks has been in existence for a while, I think, right? Or is it?
There's been a couple of iterations of it.
Okay, that's
there
what I
was
thought.
one a long time ago.
Okay.
We sort of refreshed the name, and we did originally start. We were only halfway or three-quarters of the way through our second season.
Oh, okay.
So we did start at Stageworks of Leominster.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we love doing shows here at City Hall. But the City Hall auditorium is not really built for theatrical shows.
Okay.
It doesn't have the capabilities.
Right.
We tried moving to St. Anna's. We did a show there. We did Cinderella, a great children's performance. you're still doing it in a gym stage. It's so we really try to stay in Leominster. Unfortunately, there isn't the facilities in Leominster yet. Hopefully, one day there may be. So we did reach out, and we did have to move it. So we did sort of change our name from Stageworks of Leominster to Stageworks Performing Arts, and now we incorporated our mission to serve really all of North Central Massachusetts.
Excellent. Do you have any plans to do summer programming? A prior iteration of Stageworks years ago, my kids had gone to, and it was wonderful. It was like, theater camp.
It is.
Here.
We did think about that. There are some very high challenges. One, air conditioning. A lot of these performing arts centers that are in schools don't have air conditioning.
Right.
We did a summer show last year, Jekyll and Hyde, at Monty Tech. And the cost to rent the auditorium there was exorbitant. But that's the only place really that has air conditioning to do it. The other aspect of it is a lot of regulations have changed regarding camps. And when summer programs and summer camps, now there's a lot of regulations, and it's a lot more items that we don't have the staff for. It is always something that we think about. If someone maybe wants to work in conjunction with us, we'd be happy to entertain that in the future.
Okay, great. And I love that you're bringing the business side of things, to a cultural organization. I think that's really important. And then also, the Worcester Airport is a very impressive facility. My family's used it flying in and out of New York many, many times. And I have to say, we've been very, very impressed with the whole setup. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other members?
Madam Chairwoman, if I may, we got to, it's 7 o'clock, so we have to open our meeting by law. So we're going to open the meeting, take care of a little business, and then we'll come right back to you. We'll finish up, and we'll be good, okay? So at this time, I'm going to call the meeting for the Leominster City Council of March 13th, 2023 to order, and I'll ask if you'll all please stand and join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am now going to take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Bedanza. Present. Councilor Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Ardinger. Present. Councilor Angelini. Present. Councilor Brady. Present. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
And I am present. All 9 members are present this evening. Madam Vice President, do you have any records to approve this evening?
Mr. President, I have the records from January 23rd, 2023 and February 27th, 2023. I have reviewed them both, and unless I'm hoping that everybody got their corrections in already. Seeing no one raising their hand, I would ask, I'm sorry, Councilor Frida.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. On the February 27th minutes, with the interview for Scott Kurland, I made a comment about the good base that he had with Jack Sully, Keith DePerry, Robert Pepler, and Alan Redstone, who have been longtime serving members of LATV. And I really wanted to have that in there as just an acknowledgement of what they do, and that he is coming into some experience on that, in that board.
Okay, if you want to make those, send that correction over to the city clerk.
Will do.
We can just put those minutes off until those corrections are made until the next minute.
Thank you.
But, Mr. President, I'd ask that the January 23rd, 2023 minutes found to be in good order and ask that they be placed on file.
Okay, so we will place the January 23rd, 2023 minutes on file and make a few corrections to February 27th and just re-examine them and then take care of them at the next meeting if we can have them on the next agenda as well. At this point, I would ask for a motion for a recess. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, seconded by Councilor Bedanza, to go into recess to finish with the interviews and the rest of the business. All those in favor of going into recess signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0. We now stand in recess, and Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means, you may continue with the interview.
And I believe we had opened it up. Councilor Frida?
Good evening, Mr. Valeri. How are you?
Very well. Thank you very much,
Good.
Councilor.
Good. I just, I love your enthusiasm. I think anybody that's going to be on the Cultural Commission certainly needs that, because it's, it can be a difficult job when you're dealing with the arts and music. I mean, if you don't love it, it's a lot of work.
Correct.
And it shows that you certainly are there. I know some of the things you've done in the past, so welcome aboard. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you. There is a line from the movie Dead Poet Society that I really enjoy, and I'll paraphrase. Work is what we do to survive, but the arts is what we do to live. And that's something that really rings home to me.
Thank you. Councilor Angelini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Mr. Valerian. See, I nailed that last name because I'm related to several lawyers. Take it personally, Madam Chair. Mr. Valerian, thank you for joining us tonight. You certainly exude positive energy. I'm sure you'd be an inspiration for younger folks who are interested in the arts and perhaps give them that push that they need. So thank you so much for giving up your time to participate in something that you feel strongly about, and I think it'd be a wonderful addition
Thank
to
you.
your commission. So
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Welcome to do it.
Any other councilors have any comments, questions? Mr. Valeri? How did I do?
Very good.
Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you for coming in tonight, and it'll be my pleasure in just a little bit here to recommend you for this position, and we would invite you to stay, and hopefully we'll bump this up on the agenda and get this done this evening in short order.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means. Now we have a public hearing which was scheduled for 6:50 PM, and if the Chairwoman of Public Service would like to take that.
Certainly. So this is a public hearing of the Public Service Committee. I'm Sue Shalfo-Zephyr, the chairman, and I'm drawing a blank on who the committee members are. But in any case, Bill?
And Council
Council
Frida.
Brady is also on the committee.
And Council Frida.
And Council Frida. I don't know why I blanked on that, because we've had a million or so public hearings. So 20-23 is a petition put forward by National Grid. This is probably the second or third public hearing we've had on this. Now, do I have to read through the whole thing? Okay. Or just the first couple of sections that really describe?
You can just focus in on the street if you want, and
Okay.
then since it's the first time and we're going to be continuing it due to National Grid's request.
That's right.
We
Okay.
can just wait till next time.
Okay. So this is petition 20-23. It's a petition put forward by National Grid to install a solely owned pole on Litchfield Street, beginning at a point, approximately 630 feet southwest of the center line of Elm Hill Avenue and continuing approximately 20 feet in a western direction. So we did hear from National Grid this evening, and they asked us to please move the public hearing ahead. They couldn't make it this evening, so we will reschedule that public hearing when it comes up under our regular business. So at this point, I would like to keep the public hearing open, and I will go to both of my committee counterparts. Council Frida? Agree with that? Councilor Brady?
I agree.
Okay, good. So that's what we'll do. We'll keep it open, and then we will set the next hearing during our regular business. Thank you.
Just
We
a
also
point
have
of
to have
order,
the
do we have to
public-
have public comment?
Yeah.
We have to have
sorry.
public comment.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor? Is there anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? And again, is there anybody who would like to speak in opposition? All right, well, seeing no one from the public wants to speak, we will, again, keep the public hearing open until our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and we are now going to hold the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding to or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Nobody has formally signed up this evening, but I will ask, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? If so, once again, please step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. We do have Wendy Weeks.
Wendy Weeks, Grant Administrator for the City of Leominster, 142 Blossom Street in Leominster. I'm here to speak on behalf of C48 and C49, which is land taking for Orchard Hill, the park extension, which is up behind Target. We've done this several times in the city with the industrial, commercial properties. We receive grant money. In this case, we've gotten $2,090,000 to extend the road up, down toward Pioneer Park would go one way, and behind Target would be where this property is going to be extended. So we take the property by friendly eminent domain, and that allows us to use the grant money to build the actual road with the utilities in it, and then then that leverages private investment, which is how we got the grant. So if you have any questions, Bowler Engineering is here, and Greg Lascotti, the developer, will be here shortly. So when this comes up, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thanks.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Just for the record, Map 1 based with Bowler Engineering. We were the civil engineers for the project Wendy was describing. We'll be here in the audience, so when the item does come up, we'll be happy to answer any questions or present what the taking is.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? And for the third and final time, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? Seeing none, I now declare the public forum closed, and we are now going to be back in session, and we're going to do some reading first of some communications, and then we'll get into the appointments. So, Madam Clerk, moving on to items under communications from the mayor, we have money orders C-53, Madam Clerk.
C-53, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the Fire Department Public Safety Overtime Account, the same amount to be transferred from the Excess and Deficiency Fund account.
And C-53 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-53 has been given regular course. C-54.
C-54, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $400,000 be made to the following accounts: Snow and Ice Expense Account, $250,000, Snow and Ice Overtime Account, $150,000.
And C-54 is likewise referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Once again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-54 has been given regular course. C-55.
C-55, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $409,033.54 be made to the Treasurer Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from Excess and Deficiency.
And C-55 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Regular course, please.
C-55.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Through the chair to the finance chair, can we get more information on this before the next meeting, where the responsibility lies on this issue?
Well, I can ask the treasurer and the comptroller to provide information, but just caution everybody, it can't be discussed, of course, before the next meeting.
Well, we're being asked to provide $409,000.
The open meeting law would prevent us from discussing it. I can ask for information to be distributed to the councilors that's available from those two persons, I think, most responsible for this.
Why can't we get information on it?
I just said I could ask them for information to be distributed to the council, but I'm cautioning that we can't discuss it in advance of the next
I'm
meeting.
not looking to discuss it. I'm looking to get information on it before we vote. That's all I asked for.
Yeah, and twice I told you that I would attempt to get that information.
If you're going to do that, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. C-55 has been given regular course, and you will obtain that information from them, the comptroller and the treasurer. C-56, Madam Clerk.
C-56, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $10,998.83 be made to the Disability Commission Parking Fines Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from Excess and Deficiency.
And C-56 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-56 has been given regular course. Moving on to exemptions, C-57.
C-57, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Angela Velez be exempt from the provisions provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 267A, Section 20B, Conflict of Interest. Ms. Velez is currently employed by the City of Leominster's Assessor's Office and will be taking a position as a warden for the election.
And C-57 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, please, Mr. President.
And C-57 has been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda, Madam Clerk. If there's no objection, they are all of a similar nature. They are for secondhand dealers' licenses. If there's no objection, I'll ask that you read them all, and then we will refer them all to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Okay. 22-23, Deegan Inc., doing business as Hanush Jewelers, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 100 Commercial Road, Leominster, Mass. 22-23, George's Fine Jewelers, Inc., request to renew a license to deal secondhand articles at 255 North Street, Leominster, Mass. 24-23, Crown Jewelers, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 12 Lindell Avenue, Leominster, Mass. 25-23, George's Fine Jewelers, Inc., doing business as House of Relics, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 1292 Main Street, Leominster, Mass. 26-23, Everything Cutie, Inc., request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 901 Central Street, Leominster, Mass. 27-23, Everything Cutie, Inc., request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 1021 Central Street, Leominster, Mass. And 28-23, Jenny's Helping Hand, Inc., request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 52 Mechanic Street, Leominster, Mass.
And these 7 are going to be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to request regular course on the petitions 22-23 through 28-23.
Okay, so those 7 petitions will be given regular course.
Mr. President, before we get into matters before the council, I notice Mr. Lascotti is here. Should we go into recess? I'm familiar with the project, but I know that a lot of other councilors probably are not.
Sure. If you want to, do we want to do the appointments first?
Yes.
And then if we want to take up, those 2 items that he's involved in, which I believe is C-48 and C-49, we can certainly do those next. And if we need to go in recess, we certainly will. So at this point, I am going to take the appointments, which are on page 7 under Ways and Means. If you'd like to deal with those, the Chairwoman of Ways and Means, if you're ready to report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had the opportunity to interview Mrs. Suzanne Kohler this evening. Most of us know her from her work throughout the city, her work with the school committee. It is my pleasure to be able to request that she be appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'd ask you to check with the other members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger?
I agree.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr? Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the appointment of Suzanne Kohler to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bonanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. Congratulations, Sue Kohler. You are now a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Maribel will swear you in right now before you leave. Okay, and we have another one, Madam Chairwoman, if you're ready to report.
I am, Mr. President, thank you. We also had the opportunity to interview Mr. Ya Asante Adu.
We have to give the other one further time, I believe.
Oh,
if
I'm
we
sorry.
can. Yeah, just so we don't forget it.
So under the Zoning Board of Appeals, we had an interview scheduled with Mark Pishoni, and I'm going to ask that we have the clerk send out an invitation and ask him to come in on the next meeting.
Okay. All right, so you're asking for further time?
I am.
Councilor Arndinger, are you okay with that?
I agree.
And Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
I'm fine.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to give Mark Pashoni's appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting further time signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, further time has been given to Mark Pashoni. Moving on to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we had Mr. Adu here for an interview. This is to fill a very important seat with the Leominster Housing Authority. Very gung-ho individual. I think he's going to be a great asset to the authority. He's got time on his hands, and he wants to take it up by helping out the city. So it would be my recommendation to grant the appointment, and I'd ask you to check with the members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger?
I agree.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant or to confirm the appointment of Mr. Addow.
Adu.
I'm sorry. To the Leominster Housing Authority. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those, actually, I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. You are now on the Housing Authority. Congratulations. Thank you very much, and best of luck. And Maribel will also sign you in as well, swear you in before you leave as well. Thank you very much. The next appointment on page 7, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Valeri. Excellent. Mr. Valeri interviewed with us this evening. This is also a very important position with the Cultural Commission, and he showed his enthusiasm and his love of the arts, and I'm sure he's going to bring his business acumen with him. It is my pleasure to recommend the appointment of Mr. Valeri to the Cultural Commission, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger.
I agree.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the appointment of Matthew Valeri to the Cultural Commission. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm also going to do this in roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. Congratulations, Mr. Valeri. You are now appointed to the Cultural Commission. And you also will be sworn in as well by Maribel in just a moment. Okay, so now we are going to move back to page 6. We also have someone here this evening that wants to probably be out of here sooner than later. So there are 2 items into legal affairs we're going to move. C-48, we'll begin with that. Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to report?
I am indeed. C-48, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council accept Orchard Hill Park Extension. C, Leominster City Council Orchard Hill Park Extension, Drive Extension as attached. Mr. President, this was given regular course on February 27th, and I think the applicant is here, and would you like to join us?
We would need to go into a recess. So if the council has a desire to do that, we can. Would you like to?
I make a motion.
Councilor Frida, you want to make a motion? Second it. Councilor Cormier. All right. All those in favor of going into recess, signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, we now are in recess, and I'm just going to remind everyone we can't have any debate. We're going to answer questions that are going to help us make our decision regarding this, and then we will take all the debate back into session, and we will debate there. Thank you very much. Welcome. If you could both introduce yourself formally for the record, well, we know who you are.
Scotty Development Corp., 83 Orchard Park Drive, Leominster. Is this on? Okay.
Greg, I don't think your microphone's on.
How about now?
Yes.
There we are.
Yeah.
Let me do that again. Good evening. Greg Lascotti, Lascotti Development Corp., 83 Orchard Park Drive, Leominster. Nice to be back home tonight and see everybody. It's been a while. So I'm here to speak on behalf of these 2 petitions before you tonight that the mayor had submitted. It's a similar process to what we did I think maybe only Councilor Frida maybe was on when we did Orchard Oak Park, maybe. Councilor Zephyr, no, maybe after, okay. So we did basically a friendly eminent domain taking to construct Orchard Oak Park Drive back up about 20 years ago at this point, believe it or not. Also followed a similar process when we subsequently did Tanzio Drive as well, and I think they've done it as well for some other projects here in town. So essentially what we're doing here is right at the intersections of Orchard Oak Park Drive and Pioneer Drive, we're planning on extending the road about 1,000 feet up with the cul-de-sac that's shown on the screen. And I apologize, I should introduce, I know everybody knows Wendy, but Matt Bombasi to my right is from Bowler Engineering, who's here as well. So this would open up 30-some-odd acres of land in that area. You might be wondering why the road is designed that way, and it's basically to adhere to we've got some pretty significant topography going up that hill. If you've ever driven down there, I'm sure you have, you notice the amount of topography. So that this design gets us an optimal grade under 6%, which is kind of important for large tractor-trailer traffic to navigate up that hill. As it comes down to Orchard Oak Park Drive, it's basically flat. So they have a nice kind of a flat runway to get to where the that proposed intersection is. I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but it's essentially a 30-foot paved right-of-way, paved area, 60-foot right-of-way. I should note that the plans were paid for by me, so I did the draft of the plans on behalf of the city, just because it was better to, or quicker, I should say, to have that than have the city use grant money. So this road would be constructed by a $2+ million, was it PWIT? MassWorks grant. So a little over $2 million that the city got from the state to construct this road. And we provided the construction drawings to the city, which have been approved by the DPW, so they reviewed that. And the city planning board, we met last Monday. They have sent you a positive recommendation as well. So this is kind of the last stop. Once this happens and the taking occurs, we record the plans, and then Greg Chapdelain's got the bid package that we provided, all the bid specs, I should say. He's putting that together and would be ready to go out to bid hopefully in a month or so. That's really kind of it in a nutshell, but happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Greg, the damages on the friendly taking are waived, I assume?
I've signed the waiver.
Yeah.
It was delivered to Wendy, so the clerk's office has the waiver. There was 2 waivers. So
thank you.
Yep.
I just have a question. Everything's going to, conform to a street. There's going to be street lighting.
Correct. Street trees.
Street trees and curbing and sidewalks. We have
Yes,
sidewalks.
exactly. Yep.
Okay, good. So
We're going to keep the same. If you notice, when we did Orchard Oak Park, we had ornamental apple trees and a nod to Johnny Appleseed, so we're going to do the same. We are doing those, right? Okay. Ornamental apple trees going up this new, it's going to be also called Orchard Oak Park Drive road as well. So
okay, good. Okay. Councilor Schauffer-Zephyr?
Yeah, Greg, those 30 acres, are those all industrial?
MU2.
MU2, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So it's hopeful that, there are some industrial warehouse-type users out there. So I'm hoping that this would kind of, kick off, that project. I mean, it's hard to go up here and envision something like this without the road and utilities being in, so I think that'll really help in getting the location here is prime, and I've owned this land now for 20-plus years, so there's been a big industrial push lately. So I think this will help with bringing in a tenant.
Good, and that was my next question, is what do you think your build-out is? I mean, is it 5 years, 10 years? I mean,
I hope it's sooner than that.
Right.
If we get this, I'm hoping we move quick, we can get this out to bid. I've got to talk to Greg Chaplin, but probably in May, I think we could start theoretically.
Oh, good. All right.
Start construction, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Brady?
Hi. This literally is my backyard, so I want to assure all the residents in Ward 1 that there will be some buffering between the end of the industrial use and their residents.
Yeah, there's so much land here. Do we have an exhibit, aerial?
I didn't see.
I have an aerial exhibit, actually, we brought that will, I think, address that point. We don't, I own everything from here to Gito Drive, so I own everything basically on 3 sides, with the exception of Brown Ave. The back part of the property would abut Brown Ave, but the way the topography is, that we would have plenty of a natural buffer that we would leave in place, for sure. So this, I don't know if everybody could see this, but, so the yellow is where the proposed road is, and I own everything here in red.
Is Target in white?
Target, this is Target, yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you. Yep.
Kohl's, Dick's, Bed Bath, Target. My office would be here.
So just above the yellow, the cul-de-sac would be Sky Lane.
Sky Lane ends way up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so I own this here, but then the city owns this land here, which is a buffer.
Right.
When they built that subdivision, that was part of their approvals. And then I think Brown Ave stops way over here.
Right.
And then Gito Drive, I own some frontage on Gito Drive.
Yeah, you've been a great neighbor to them, so I'm
Yeah, I mean,
pretty sure that you're going to make sure that
Of course, yeah.
it stays.
We're so far away, and I should point out, the topography here is such that we would essentially go here and kind of hollow out the side of the hill and push the material down where this lot is to basically create, about a 20-acre flat pad that we could do probably caught around 250,000-foot building if we did a single building there. So it's pretty significant structure.
So the truck traffic would definitely go on to 190, or they could go Lancaster Road down to 2 that way.
Right.
So-
I would say, so that was a big thing, as you probably remember, when I was doing Orchard Park 20 years ago with the neighborhood, and as part of the city asked me if I would go and buy this land here from Adam Young back in the day when he was selling this. So I bought that and then constructed the road so we could link Pioneer all the way through to Harvard Street. And, there was a lot of concerns with the neighbors at the time about the size of the development.
Exactly, and maybe you want to point out, too, you did put in a deer bridge.
We put all kinds of things in here.
Natural crossing.
We put things in a mile and a half away, but, at the end of the day, the project's great. Here we are 20 years later, and I think it still looks great. And in the traffic, I haven't done any counts, but I'm guessing 95% go out that way to Route 2. And it took a lot of pressure, I think, off of Route 13 by, folks from North Leominster now don't have to go all the way around. They can just cut through, and which is why you saw the gas station get developed down here, and it just made sense, right?
Okay. Councilor Freed, you have a few questions?
More of a comment. 20 years ago, trying to envision what that land was going to look like and what it is today is just an incredible difference. And a lot of discussion took place 20 years ago.
Yep.
And, it just looks like a continuation of the same success story that will prevail. So, to comment, a lot of discussion 20 years ago.
A lot, and it worked out, I think, really, really well. I think folks are pretty happy with everything, so I know I am, and a few gray hairs later, but it all worked out.
Councilor Angelini, you have a few questions?
I had a question, but I think it's been answered in the interim, but I thought it'd be perhaps appropriate to raise it irregardless. So my initial, when I reviewed the Bowler cost breakdown that was provided with the set of plans, thank you, question came to mind: what happens if you hit ledge in the roadbed when your construction activity begins and the road cost exceeds the grant money? But I spoke to a contractor that's done an awful lot of work over there, and he told me that they've dug down as deep as 30 feet in some spots, and they've hit absolutely no ledge. So I found that reassuring. So it sort of removed the necessity for that question.
I think, I can tell you, when we did Orchard Park, the road, and then that hill was was flattened, right? I moved over 500,000 yards of material, which is significant. I mean, if you go to the end of my parking lot or where Best Buy is and look over that hill, I mean, we're sitting on 40 feet of fill. We literally took the hill and slid it, moved it forward towards Harvard Street and back. If you look to the back at Target, you'll see 20-some-odd foot high retaining walls. So the reason I bring that up is we didn't even hit a rock. It's just a giant, glacial till. And I know if you look at there's a dark line that runs at the end where the new proposed cul-de-sac is, that easement that goes up to Sky Lane. That's actually the sewer line that the city installed, and they didn't encounter, as far as I know, any ledge or anything. It's the same type of material here.
Yeah, so for anyone who may not be familiar with the site or may be home watching on LATV, if you're driving down the road past the mall, you'll see a yellow gate. If you're heading towards the industrial park, and the yellow gate will be on your left. This roadway will be across the street from that yellow gate, will be where the road's going in. So I thought that would be helpful if people were trying to figure out exactly where this road's going to be located. Mr. President?
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, yes.
Sorry, just as an aside, which will be coming before you shortly, it was supposed to get lumped into this petition, but I think Copeland and Page is working on it. If you notice, there's a little stub, I don't know what parcel it's called. What is it called?
Parcel A?
No, I think A is the road. Lot 2. No, if you scroll, no, it's right. Yeah, it doesn't, it's on the other plan. Right there is fine. Right where the intersection of Orchard Park and Pioneer Drive exists today, you'll see a little road stub there. It's labeled Parcel 2 on your plans. That was taken by the city. Quite frankly, I don't remember why when we did this road taking. So the mayor's going to be submitting a petition here shortly that will just basically be giving that land back to me so I can straighten out all my property lines. So I just wanted to bring that up now because you'll be seeing that probably at the next meeting, I'm guessing. Next council meeting, that you'll be taking that up. It's all part of this, related but unrelated. It's only 5,000 square feet, I think. And I'm just trying to straighten out my lot lines. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate the explanation.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, so we are now going to be standing back in session. And once again, to the Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to report on C-48?
Certainly. Well, I already read it once, Mr. President.
Okay.
So let me read into the record both referrals I have and a letter from the mayor.
Okay.
I have a letter from Mayor Mazzarella dated February 23rd, 2023, addressed to the Leominster City Council. Dear members of the council, I am asking for your approval of the attached petitions relative to the extension of Orchard Hill Park Drive. The City of Leominster has received a Mass Works grant in the amount of $2,090,000 to construct the extension of Orchard Hill Park Drive. The project will provide infrastructure for a new 234,000 square foot industrial/warehousing building. The total private investment is estimated at $19 million and will employ approximately 300 full-time and part-time people. The development will also generate significant real estate tax revenue for the city. As you know from past state grants involving the development of roads for new economic growth, the infrastructure must take place on the public land. The owner of the property is donating the land for the road to the city. The two petitions before you will take the land for the extension as well as 7 temporary construction easements. I've attached the grant budget and the layout of the extension. Thank you for your consideration of these petitions. Again, that's sincerely Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. We also have a referral back from the DPW, and this is addressed to Ms. Caitlin Huffman, City Council. RE Communication C-48, Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requests that the City Council accept Orchard Hill Park Extension. C, Leominster City Council, Orchard Hill Park Drive Extension as attached. Dear Caitlin, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the communication to accept Orchard Hill Park Extension. C, Leominster City Council, Orchard Hill Park Drive Extension as attached. The DPW approves the communication as submitted. Please let us know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Raymond Racine, DPW Director. God bless you. And finally, we have a referral back from the Planning Board. This one as well addressed Caitlin Huffman, City Clerk. Regarding City Council petition C-48, Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requests City Council accept Orchard Hill Park Extension. Dear Caitlin, on 3/6/2023, the Planning Board voted 6-0 to make a positive recommendation to petition C-48 to accept Orchard Hill Park Extension. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Regards, Elizabeth Wood, AICP, Planning and Development Director. So those are the referrals and, of course, the introductory letter from Mayor Mazzarella. So at this time, I don't have any additional questions. I'm comfortable moving forward, but I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, and Councilor Bedanza.
I'm going to accord the grant.
Okay, Councilor Deacon.
I agree.
Okay, so it sounds like a unanimous recommendation from the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-48. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-48 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-48 has been granted. Moving on to C-49, which is also related to this as well.
Yes, Mr. President. C-49, Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requests the City Council grant the order of taking in relation to the extension of Orchard Hill Park Drive. C, order of taking as attached. Once again, Mr. President, this was given regular course on February 27th, and we had the developer and his representative, along with the grant administrator, Ms. Wendy Weeks, here this evening. Their presentation, I thought, was thorough. It would be prudent for me to read into the record the two recommendations that the council had sought from the Planning Board and the DPW. I will start, excuse me, with the DPW's referral to Ms. Caitlin Huffman, City Council. Dear Caitlin, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the communication to grant the order of taking in relation to the extension of Orchard Hill Park Drive. C, order of taking as attached. The DPW approves the communication as submitted. Please let us know if you have any questions. We have a referral from the Planning Board back as well. This is dated March 7th, 2023, to Caitlin Huffman, a city clerk. Dear Caitlin, on 3/6/2023, the Planning Board voted 6-0 to make a positive recommendation to petition C-49 to support the City Council granting the order of taking in relation to the extension of Orchard Hill Park Drive. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Regards, Elizabeth Wood, AICP, Planning and Development Director. With those two positive referrals, Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we grant C-49, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee, sir.
Councilor Bedanza.
Considering we all already accepted the road, I guess we ought to take it.
Okay, good idea. Councilor Deacon?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so it sounds like a unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to also grant C-49. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
I obviously totally support this. I supported it 20 years ago. I support it again now. But I don't think we can miss the fact that Leominster has been fortunate. I mean, a lot of, certainly we've had this discussion before regarding Wendy and the opportunity of getting these grants. I mean, MassWorks grants aren't all that easy to get. And I think we need to acknowledge how lucky we've been and a lot of the things we've been able to do with getting a lot of these grants. So it's another thing that helps to make this happen.
Yep, I agree. Is there any other discussion on C-49? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-49 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed?
Should this be a voice vote? No?
Of taking? Are we, should we do a voice vote? on
Land taking?
It wouldn't hurt.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Counselor-
land taking, I think.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Counselor Bedanza?
Yay.
Counselor Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Brady?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Deacon?
Yay.
Counselor Frida?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. C-49 has been granted, and we certainly do wish the petitioner the best of success with his latest endeavor and the investment in the city of Leominster. Thank you very, very much. We will now move, we're jumping all around tonight, so I hope everyone can keep up, including me. We are now going to jump back to page 5 to matters before the city council and the financial report. Is the chairman of finance ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year on July 1st with a balance in the stabilization account of $20,675,366. Since that time, we've added 2 items: interest in the amount of $147,984 and $4 million from our free cash or excess and deficiency account, for a balance of $24,823,351. Appropriations voted by this council are currently pending, total $3,922,923, leaving a resulting balance of $20,900,427. That is the financial report.
Okay, so you've heard the financial report. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the report. And we will now move on to items under finance, beginning with C-47. Are you ready to report?
I am. C-47, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $12,000 be made to the City Council advertising account, the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. There's a letter from our clerk dated the 14th of February. Dear Mayor Mazzarella, I am respectfully requesting an additional appropriation of $12,000 to the City Council advertising budget. We have expended our current advertising budget in its entirety due to public hearing notices, loan orders, and publication of ordinances. As such, we do not have enough money to pay our current $3,000 bill and to make it through the remainder of the fiscal year. I'm respectfully requesting these funds to ensure we can continue to advertise our public hearings and ordinances as required by law. So we don't really have a lot of choice in this, Mr. President. It's been an expensive year for advertising. It'd be my position to grant C-47. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well.
Your third member of finance.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Make it unanimous.
All right, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-47. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-47 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-47 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do order the sum of $12,000 be appropriated to the City Council advertising account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the order for C-47 has also been adopted. Moving on to C-50.
C-50, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $4 million be made to the stabilization fund, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. We do this pretty much every year that I've been down here. These are funds essentially used for capital purposes, one-time expenditures. During the course of the fiscal year, borrowed from the stabilization account with the anticipation of this appropriation back to the stabilization account when free cash is certified. That's what this represents. It'd be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-50. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-50. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-50 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-50 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, move that the $4 million be made to this, be transferred from the stabilization account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the order on C-50 has been adopted. C-51, are you ready to report?
Yes, C-51, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $382,351.90 be made to the Water Department Capital Outlay Expense Account. The same amount be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Again, this is an annual right. These were funds that were unexpended at the conclusion of the prior fiscal year and ended up in the undesignated or excess and deficiency account. We have historically given the money back to the Water Department Capital Outlay Expense Account once free cash has been certified, and that's what this is intending to do this evening. And for that reason, Mr. President, I would be in favor of granting C-51, and I ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
And I will once again make it unanimous.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-51. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-51 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-51 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, ordered that the sum of $382,351.90 be transferred to the Water Department Capital Outlay Expense Account. Same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0. The order for C-51 has been adopted. Moving on to C-52.
C-52, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $902,226.56 be made to the Sewer Department Capital Outlay Expense Account. Same amount to be transferred from the excess deficiency account. And just like the water side, this is the other corollary, the sewer. Again, at the end of the last fiscal year, they turned back $902,226.56 of unexpended funds that ended up in the free cash account. This is simply returning that money to them for capital projects. Mr. President, it would be my position to grant C-52. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Councilor Angelini.
I agree as well.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-52. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-52 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-52 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, ordered that the sum of $902,226.56 be appropriated to the Sewer Department Capital Outlay Expense Account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0. The order for C-52 has also been adopted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, C-41. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-41, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council authorize the appropriate departments to research, develop, and participate in a contract or contracts to aggregate the electricity load of the residents and businesses in the city and for other related services independently or in joint action with other municipalities, and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to accomplish the same. Mr. President, this was on our calendar, regular course, back in January 23rd of 2023. Was given further time on February 13th. On the 27th, the same, I'm sorry, it was discussed at our last meeting, and what I'd like to do is give this further time. Finance Committee has established a subcommittee hearing for Wednesday, March 15th at 6 p.m.
You mean
So-
legal affairs?
Legal affairs.
Legal affairs.
I'm sorry. Too many.
It's one of those nights, I think it's maybe the
I think
pressure
it-
from the storm, I don't know.
I think it was the name Valeri that started
It
it.
could have, yeah. It threw us
All right,
off
so-
tonight.
So, once again, I would ask for further time in light of the fact that we have a subcommittee
This coming
hearing
Wednesday.
scheduled for this Wednesday.
And Thank
And I
God it's
would
not,
ask you to-
thank God it's not tomorrow night.
Indeed.
All
I would
right.
ask you to check with members of my committee.
Absolutely. Counselor Bedanza
Makes perfect sense.
and Counselor Deacon.
Yeah, I'm agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation for further time on C-41. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving further time to C-41, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-41 has been given further time. So we've already dealt with C-48 and C-49. We're going to move on to the last item under legal affairs, which is 19-23. Mr. Chairman, you ready to report?
Mr. Chairman, I recuse myself from this matter as I have a conflict. I have a business relationship with someone that's in a butter to Lock Drive, so if I may turn this over to...
Absolutely. Counselor Bedanza,
Yes.
you are next in charge.
Okay, 19-23, William Brady, Ward 1 Counselor, request to amend Chapter 13 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-34, no parking on certain streets by inserting the following: no parking on Lock Drive on both sides for the entirety of the street. We have a referral back from the Leominster Police Department dated February 28th, indicating the Leominster Police Department favors the no parking signs on both sides of Lock Drive. We have investigated several traffic complaints of tractor-trailer units or car carriers hindering traffic flow. Additionally, these parking issues could affect the fire department responding to medical emergencies and building fires if this type of parking continues in this area. The police department takes all of these referrals seriously regarding how to make the traffic flow in the city as smooth as possible. Respectfully, Aaron F. Kennedy, Chief of Police. So it's pretty clear that this is appropriate and obviously supported fully by the police department. It would be my position, Mr. President, to, we have to schedule a public hearing on our next meeting, March 27th at 2023 at 6:50 p.m.
Okay,
So
so
my recommendation to schedule a public hearing.
Okay, to schedule a public hearing for March 27th, 2023 at 6:50 PM and give this further time?
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Deacon, are you in
I'm in
accord?
agreement, yes.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the legal affairs of the two members remaining to give this further time and to establish a hearing, a public hearing on March 27th, 2023 at 6:50 PM. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving this further time and establishing that public hearing signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, thank you very much. We will give this further time, and that public hearing has been established. Moving on to the item under public service, 20-23, Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report? And I think you can maybe waive most of the reading except the first couple of paragraphs.
That was my plan.
Perfect.
Yeah. This is 2023. This is National Grid wanting to install a pole on Litchfield Street across from the intersection of Elm Hill Avenue. As we discussed earlier, we had a public hearing earlier this evening, and National Grid has asked us to move this forward because they could not attend this evening. So excuse me? Oh, I thought I heard somebody. My recommendation at this point would be to give this further time and to continue our public hearing on March 27th, 2023 at 6:45 p.m., and I would ask that you poll my committee.
Okay, Counselor Frida.
I agree.
Counselor Brady.
Yes. in agreement.
Okay, so it's a unanimous recommendation of the Public Service Committee to give 20-23 further time and to continue the public hearing to March 27th at 6:45 p.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of further time and the public hearing to the 27th at 6:45 p.m. signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, this has been given further time. Moving on to, I think all the appointments on page 7 are done. And we have one item under Ways and Means for a secondhand dealer's license, which is 21-23. Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a Peyton's Flea Market request to renew their license to deal secondhand articles at 107 Union Street. Just as a reminder, the petitioners have to file an application with the city, a notice of their insurance with the state, and they also have to receive a certificate of good standing with the treasurer of the city and with the Leominster Police Department. I can tell you that all that paperwork has been filed. I find it to be in good order, and I would agree to renew the request for the license to deal secondhand articles.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger?
I agree.
And Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
I agree as well.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant 21-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 21-23 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 21-23 has been granted. Moving on to the next item under Ways and Means. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years, but we have the election of our city clerk, and this would be given regular course to the chairwoman of Ways and Means. And given the fact that we have a precedent and a legal opinion, this is an executive power that the city council holds for this position, so I will refer it to the chairwoman of Ways and Means for a recommendation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you said, I did review the charter, and I did review the legal opinion. So at that point, with this evening, if I can, just momentarily, I want to say that you mentioned it's unbelievable that it's been 5 years. During that time, young Caitlin Hoffman interviewed us and accepted an appointment to the city clerk's position. She took over for Lynn Bouchard back on June 18th of 2018. She had some big shoes to fill at that time. And I want to say, despite, a few little growing pains here and there, that Ms. Huffman has shown her intelligence, her proficiency with the law, with the charter, with knowing the ins and outs of the office. It's my opinion that she has actually elevated that office. She has brought us into 2023 with new computer systems, gotten us out of the old everything being written by hand, got us in the computers. She's done a great job with training the individuals in her office. She got us through COVID, which I think was major.
No small.
That was no small task for somebody, new to this position, very responsible, but she got us through COVID, kept us on the ball, kept our meetings going. She's handled the elections. She's brought our numbers back in the staff working the elections, which was no short order in and of itself. I can tell you that the clerk's office in Leominster is a very busy office. Anytime that I am in there, they're busy. There's someone at the window all the time. They are helped efficiently. Questions are answered. I have to say that Caitlin has maintained all her certifications. She's a Justice of the Peace, a Notary Public, all the certifications to keep her position there. She's proficient in every single computer program that is used in the city and by the state. She is on the ball. So, Mr. President, it would be my position to recommend that we elect our city clerk for another 5-year term, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay. Councilor Arndinger.
I agree.
Okay. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
I would like to go through a different process, and this is not a reflection, and I want to be very clear that this is not anything, it's not a negative implication to the job that the current clerk is doing, but I think it's important, given the importance of the job and the way that we treat other department heads, for example. The superintendent of schools is evaluated every year, goes through a performance evaluation every year, not just in contract years, but every year. The Ward 4 counselor and myself just went through a year or so ago, or maybe even longer, and we're in the process of it now, when we hired a new library director. We set up a very I think, thorough and thoughtful evaluation performance system for the new library head. So I would really hope and propose that we, treat the city clerk in the same way. As a department head, it's obviously a very important job with, elections and the city council and, public records and all that stuff. It's very, very important. It's also, it's highly paid. It's a department head. I think, in my experience, I've had a very good experience over the 5 years with Caitlin. She's been very responsive. Anytime I've asked her for anything, I don't have any complaints about that. I think in any position, when you do a performance evaluation, what you do is you look at all of the good things, what's working really well, what's going on that's really well. Then you look at places where, okay, there might be need for improvement. And then you also look at, okay, where are the opportunities for training? Does the office and does the clerk need more resources? So it's an opportunity to really evaluate and I think improve, systems. So it is not meant in any way to be punitive or it's not meant to be punitive. It's really to get at how to, refine what's being done. And I'm not saying, I think, you know what? My experience has been very, very good, very positive. I've had, there's been a few blips. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but, nobody is in their job. So as a department head, I think, the position, is paid way over $100,000 with stipends for covering city council, with the opportunity to, earn additional income, performing weddings, and I think all of that's great. I just think that we would be serving the public, and I also think the office, and I think, honestly, the individual better, serving them well, if we did go through an evaluation process, because it really makes you kind of deconstruct the job description, and the job description over the 5 years, I bet, has changed a lot, just given the changes that the Ways and Means Chair talked about in terms of technology, in terms of the different setup, in terms of, the three clerks working in the office are probably doing different things than they were 5 years ago. That would be my guess. So I would look at doing this in a thoughtful, detailed way would be a real plus. So that's what I'm proposing. I think it would be a benefit. I really do. I don't see it as punitive. I don't see it as being critical. That was the other word I was looking for. This is not meant at all to be critical. It's not meant to be punitive. It's really an opportunity, I think, to take another look at the job description, take another look at the way the business is being done. How can it be done better? Are there resources that need to be applied so that the job can be done better, given certainly that over 5 years things have changed dramatically? So that's what I would propose, is that we have a Ways and Means subcommittee. We sit, and part of the evaluation process that I think is really important, anybody who's worked in business, understands, I think, how this is done. And it gives the opportunity, it gives the staff person an opportunity to do a self-evaluation, so that the person goes through the process and says, these things I do great, these are the things I'm having difficulty with, and this is why. Maybe I need more resources, or maybe I need training, or maybe I need to send my staff to training. So I look at it, honestly, as a real opportunity to improve services. And I think, it really offers the clerk, maybe some training, maybe some whatever, and maybe not. Maybe 90% of the things that are being done, beautifully. But that extra 10%, we could help you with. And I don't mean, I really should be talking about the office itself. So that would be my proposal, is that we have a Ways and Means Committee. We sit down, we evaluate things, and then we take it from there. The appointment is up in April, and that gives us, a month. Yeah, I think a month or so. And that's what I would propose. You know, the superintendent is evaluated every year. Library director is going to be evaluated every year. And in business, nobody in a million years would commit to an investment of $600,000 plus without a performance evaluation. And again, it's the evaluation, but it's also the $600,000, I know, over 5 years. You know, if you take the salary and you take other things times 5, that's over $500,000 investment, 600 plus. And that's just not the way it's done, you know, in any organization that I've ever been in, I think. So that's what I would propose, is that we, you know, don't vote on it tonight, that we engage in it. It's a process, but it's a process that involves communication, you know, with the staff person and with the committee.
Okay, so if I'm gathering, you're looking for further time as a
I
committee
am,
member?
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Ways and Means. 2 members want to confirm, and 1 wants further time. So the recommendation from the committee, if I'm not mistaken, will be to confirm. And I will ask if this, I will...
Technically elect, right?
Or elect, yeah. So I will ask if there is any discussion. Councilor Bedanza.
I'm prepared to move forward this evening. Obviously, we've all worked with the clerk closely over the last almost 5 years. As the Ways and Means Chair indicated eloquently, you know, she's been great to work with, and she's worked in some difficult circumstances. I mean, COVID was really difficult to manage for a lot of government. And certainly the clerk's office was no exception to that. She's also pitched in significantly with the city's IT issues. And I know firsthand, and I think many of us do, that she's very adept with IT and has helped us all, or many of us at least. I have no reservations whatsoever. She has a great attitude, works hard, is dedicated, and, you know, I got to tell you, we went through this process almost 5 years ago, and there aren't a lot of people out there that have this skill set that are looking for work. And I'm all for encouraging her and keeping her here and happy, because I don't think the pool out there of available people to fill these shoes is that great. So I'm very comfortable in moving forward this evening.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Angelini, I didn't hear you speak yet, and then I'll go back to Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to...
You might, Pete.
Oh.
Pete, yep.
There we go. I would like to weigh in on this as well. In my experience in my time in these chambers and working with Ms. Huffman, I find it easily accessible, even on weekends. If I have a problem, she gets right back to me. If I have a question, she's back to me. In the midst of everything that had been brought up earlier about COVID and IT issues and personnel issues, she managed to find the time to work with me to update the fee schedule, something that hasn't been done for decades, and put a lot of effort into that as well. So I'm out there in the private sector, and when you find a good employee, you keep them. And it would be my position that I would be fully supportive of moving forward this evening and confirming the city clerk for another 5 years. It would be an honor and a privilege for me to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, I saw your hand as well.
Yep, thank you very much. You know, it's interesting because the Ward 4 Council mentioned IT. I didn't realize that. So that would all come out. All of these other things that the clerk does that are not evident to people like me, who I'm not in the office every single day, I didn't know that. That's the kind of stuff that comes out when you do a performance evaluation, like a 360 review. And I completely agree with the Ward 5 councilor that when you do have a good person, you do want to keep them. And what you do is you understand what they're really good at, what they've been doing really well, where their challenges are, and how you can support them to make those challenges, you know, work better. So this is not, and I want to be very clear about this, is not a criticism of the job that the clerk has done. It's not. What it is an opportunity to understand more clearly. I didn't understand about that IT stuff. I just didn't know. And that would be interesting because whoever is in charge of the IT, which I believe it is former Treasurer LaPlante, could weigh in and say, you know, she's done a fantastic job, this, and this, and then all of us would know that collectively. And I think that's valuable. So, you know, and that's the only way that you really get at that kind of detail is when you do a review. And I have a question, I guess, for the Ward 4 councilors. Why would we do one department head? Why would we evaluate one department head, which I think has been very, very valuable? We set goals, we say, what do you need? We try to be supportive, and not another one. I mean, I just don't understand why we wouldn't treat all department heads the same.
Through the chair, if you'd like
Through
to
the chair, yeah.
respond.
Through the chair, my position would be that it's sui generis. Every department head is different. This one is governed by the charter under our executive authority. None of the others are. You cannot compare the city clerk's office to the library director, the superintendent of schools, or any other department head in the city. You know, I work with Caitlin frequently, talk to her at least a few times a week. You know, it's not the same thing. How you can't compare them. And the way they're appointed is different as well. So I have no problem with taking action on this tonight. I'm sure that the clerk is available to all of us. If you have questions and you want to sit down with her, I have no doubt that she would answer any questions you have about her job, her role, things that she does. I've had an open door with her since she started, and it's been a very pleasant experience, to be honest with you.
Councilor Schaffler-Zephyr.
Thank you very much. I mean, the jobs are clearly different, but the library director is actually appointed by the Board of Trustees, and the city clerk works for and is elected by the city council. So they're different, but again, I think there are a lot of similarities. And I would see it as a real plus. I would see it as something that would benefit certainly that position, you know, as well as all of us here on the city council, being able to operate with, you know, full knowledge and understanding of what the clerk does. So that's still my position. I think it would be a really good thing. And I think we definitely do want to keep, you know, good people. There's no question about that. At the same time, you know, as a steward of, you know, the city's resources, I think if we can get more bang, you know, for the $120,000 that we'll be spending on that in the next few years, I would like to do that.
Okay. Did I see anyone else? Councilor Arndinger.
You know, in certain respect, we evaluate the city clerk's performance every 2 weeks at least, you know, if not more so on a weekly basis. And the process of setting up an evaluation like the councilor at large across from me is stating, I think would take longer than 2 months, to be honest with you. It just, you know, it would be a very detailed, we'd have to, you know, sit down and analyze every aspect of her job and see what the goals, if you like to say, what those goals should be. And knowing what she does, I don't think we could do that in 2 months. So, you know, I would like to proceed with this tonight and confirm or elect the city clerk. But if you feel strongly about this, maybe we should start working on that something for the future.
Yeah.
That's just my comments.
Yeah, makes sense. Anybody else have any? Councilor Brady.
I'd like to respond to the councilor at large. Just on your point that it would take time. In all our department heads in the city, we don't rush to reappoint. The former comptroller didn't get a reappointment for 10 years.
Right.
Okay? The police chief is interim. Being in business, if you're going to make over a $500,000 investment, you need to take the time. So I have to support my counselor to my left. I mean, it's just prudent. It's just prudent business practice. And if I could also, just for clarification of my point, I'm reading 3.9 of the city charter and Rule 26 of our own rules that says all resolutions shall require 2 readings unless resolution is deemed to be an emergency. And 3.9, in general, no measure shall be adopted on the date it is introduced, except in the case of a special emergency involving the peace, health, or safety of the people and their property. So just because I'm new, I haven't been through this process before, why are we treating this different than everything else according to the charter and according to our rules?
Absolutely. I can answer that question. Back in July, as recently as July, we got an opinion from KP Law, which everyone should have gotten, because as you all might remember, we had to elect a new assistant city clerk. This is not, it's, if you read, and I don't know if you have extra copies of it, but if you read the opinion from Brian Riley, which came out on July 13th, 2022, this is this election of a city clerk is one of two things that we do that we can exercise our executive powers, electing a city clerk and electing an assistant city clerk. And according to his, and he gives case law here from the city of Gloucester, back in 1989. He cites all kinds of case law. We have executive power over these two positions. They are very unique. They're the only two that we have power over. And because of that, we are able to, this is not a measure. This is not a measure. This is an exercise of our executive power to elect a city clerk, or when we need to, an assistant city clerk. So we don't have to, vote on it tonight per se, but we have to do something with it, whether it be confirm it, deny it, give it further time, table it, but we act on it tonight. This has been a precedent since the same thing happened in 2018 with Lynn Bouchard. I think it was on, what was the date you had found? On
June 18th is when.
Right, well, June 18th, she was
sworn in, but it was.
On April 9th, 2018, this appeared on our agenda. That night, right away, we elected Lynn Bouchard. Her term began April 15th, as all terms do under the city's charter 5.5. They all begin on April 15th. She retired 2.5 months later. So Caitlin then filled her unexpired term beginning on, I think your certificate says July 2nd, 2018. She began her job. She filled her unexpired term, which is until April 15th of 2023. Back in 2013, the then Council President Shalafo Zephyr put this on the agenda on February 25th. They voted on it that evening, and it happened.
I don't remember that.
And it happened in 2000. It's all in the minutes, and it happened in 2008 as well. So there's a precedent, there's a legal opinion, and that's why we're doing it.
Well, if I may, again, what's the rush? Why not take this into consideration? Council Arger even said it's going to take a lengthy review. It's just standard business practice to do this. It's a 5-year appointment with over $500,000 of city money being spent.
Committed.
We have to do our due diligence. We owe this as a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of the city of Leominster. If we rush this through tonight, we are not being fair to the taxpayers.
That's your opinion.
Councilor?
In my opinion.
Cormier, I saw your hand as well.
Yes, just, I'm sorry, but I'm sitting here and I'm getting resentful that the amount of money and the amount of the salary just keeps being thrown about. First of all, we do not negotiate for the city clerk's contract, the amount of compensation, any of that. That's all by statute. So that has nothing to do with what we're doing here today. Now, I don't disagree that having some kind of an evaluation or setting up some kind of a review procedure is a good idea. But that's not on the agenda tonight. And that can't be brought up, or it's ridiculous that it be brought up on the same night that we're voting. Her contract expires April 15th. If this is something that you want to do and you want to set this up, and I think it's a great idea, let's set it up. But we also had to do interviews for the assistant clerk position. And that took meetings, that took conferences, that took getting involved with human resources, developing questions within our rights to ask, and that didn't violate any law. any employment law issues, it takes a long time. Now, I don't see why we have to wait. If that's what you want to do, then put it on the agenda. We can do this next year. But you don't wait until it appears on the agenda and say, oh, no, 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 now we need more time. Now we want to set that up. I'm sorry, but setting that up is going to take months. It's going to take months, and we just prolong this and prolong this. It's within our executive powers to vote on this today. That's the precedent that has been set. This precedent has been set. There is no precedent, and I read it all, and I read through the charter and everything else. There is no precedent on the books to do this, to have this evaluation, to hold this up, to have this evaluation before we elect a city clerk. If this is what you really want to do, petition it. Put it on. We'll have subcommittee meetings after this. We'll have it ready to go for next year. But I don't see why this comes on at the first time that this appears on the agenda, and this argument is being made now.
To answer your question, because it looks like it's through the chair, I wasn't on 5 years ago. Not aware of this process. This is the first time I've seen this on an agenda. The first time ever I've seen this on the agenda. So that answers the question of why I'm asking that question now. Honest, this is the first time I've seen this.
And I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that there is a process to do this, and I didn't fully understand the executive session and how this works for this specific appointment. I went through, I read it today. I actually read it over the weekend. I was able to pull it up from the old minutes. The precedent has been set, and it has gone for every appointment for the city clerk. That has come up. It hasn't been given a second call. It hasn't been given further time. It's been put on the agenda. It's been voted on that evening, and I believe that that's what we should do again today. As I said, having an evaluation, doing all that, great. Great idea. I just don't think that it's going to happen at this time. If somebody petitions it, we get it on the agenda, we can work on it, and we can get it done for next year. That's my position. Mr. President, it's my position to elect a city clerk this evening.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida.
First of all, it's no secret that I'm a process person. I know I drive everybody crazy with it, but that's the way I learned how to do things a number of years ago. There's a process in place. And to use the term resentful because somebody's asking a question, I'll take the same resentful position. I mean, because somebody's asking questions and because somebody's bringing some issues up doesn't mean that we're looking to replace Caitlin. Because we have a discussion doesn't mean we're looking to go out and find another clerk. Right. We're talking about a 5-year appointment. We're talking, and my issue is that it's on the agenda tonight for the first time. It's under matters before the council, but under it also says regular course 31323. So what is it? I mean, there was confusion when that was there, and okay, somebody's going to say, why didn't you call up and clarify it? We just got it Thursday. If you're going by an illegal opinion, whether it's old or isn't, why wouldn't you have shared that? Why wouldn't you have sent it out to the council and said, this is what's happening? Why wouldn't you say this is a legal opinion just for your information for tonight's vote?
Well,
why wouldn't that have been done? Just so we don't get a lot of the information that's been going back and forth on a number of issues that have transpired the last few months. And I think
stop with the
we sit here.
What are you talking about?
Excuse me. Would you allow her to speak and stop interrupting?
All right. Okay. All right. This has been a legal opinion that's been on file in the city clerk's office since July 13th.
And you brought it up. You brought it up for tonight's meeting. Why wouldn't you have shared that and say, this is why I'm bringing it up tonight?
We all got it just in July when we elected an assistant.
And we did the same thing.
I keep all my stuff at home in files, and so I can remember it and reference back to it. We have it. This requested from it back in July.
The fact that we have to rush this, if you don't want to do an evaluation, that's fine. But why would we not, if I was a board member or a commission member or any of a mayoral appointment, I'd be angry that we sit here as 9 people that interview people, have them come down, sit here and talk to us about the positions they want to go on, and we give them 2 weeks before we make a decision on it, and we interview them. I understand that's a different situation. I understand it's not the city clerk. And I understand it's a different job, and I don't disagree with everything that's said by Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr and by you, Madam Chair. The working relationship I've had with Caitlin has been very good. I'm a process person. This isn't the way this should go tonight. And I did not vote for Maribel. I did not vote for the prior assistant clerk because we rush everything instead of following what we do for everybody else in the city. So we have over a month. Why would we not give this regular course? If there's anybody out in the community that wants to submit, according to transparency, submit something to us that says she's doing a great job, I've had great experience. I've heard nothing but good things from election wardens, from people who deal with her in elections. These are all good things. That's the whole point of 2 weeks, because it's a transparency issue. Let people comment, good, bad, or indifferent. It's not saying we're looking to reply. I have no intentions of looking at replacing her, but I want the process to work. I wanted 2 weeks. So you back me into a corner because you want to evoke executive privilege and rush it, which we don't do for anybody else in the city. And I understand because we have the power to do it, because it's our appointment, it's our election. I understand that. But I don't want to be forced to vote against her because the process isn't working for me. And that's not fair, because it's not fair to her either.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza, did I see your hand as
Yes, through the chair, to the counselor at large. She has a long history here, 30 years, I think. You're talking about rushing. Let's go through the history. Lynn Bouchard, was she evaluated? Ann Mahan, was she evaluated? Bev Davis, was she evaluated? Was Audrey Johnson evaluated? I might have missed a couple in there. This is no rush to judgment. This is what we've done. Yep, that's right. There's no rush to judgment. Mr. President, I move the question.
Okay, so we are moving the question. So at this time, all those, I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Nay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Nay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Unfortunately, nay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 6-3. Congratulations, Madam Clerk. You have been elected to another term, which expires April 15th, 2028. At this time, we will move on to new business. Is there any new business to come before the City Council? Councilor Brady.
Yes, just based on all the secondhand dealer licenses, I'm going to reiterate what I said last year. Perhaps we should move that to the License Commission. They're better equipped to handle it than we are. Along with the secondhand dealer, maybe the movie theater, and probably a moot point, the bowling alley licenses. Can we just move all relicensing to the License Commission? Seems to me to make sense.
It would possibly be possible. We'd have to petition that, and a Copeland Page KP would weigh in and give us a recommendation. I know we did it with pool tables, and it was done by way of a petition. I believe former Councilor Marchian put a petition in, and we discussed and debated that, and it went. So we can, if you want to look into the process of putting a petition, obviously that probably won't be very effective at this point till next year, because everything is coming in now, but it can be done. I believe it can be done. So we'll find out if you petition it.
Yeah, just reading through, anytime the City Council releases any power, if you will, at any point, we can take it back.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, is there any other new business? Any old business? Anything under the community calendar besides a snowstorm that's coming? Parking ban in effect, midnight tonight until 6
Wednesday
p.m.
at 6?
Till 6 p.m.
Wednesday, 6, 9?
Yeah.
Trash is going to be delayed a day, so there'll be no pickup tomorrow. If you normally get picked up on Tuesday, it'll be Wednesday. Wednesday, it'll be Thursday. Thursday, it'll be Friday. Friday, it'll be Saturday.
Free parking at the train station.
Parking at the train station in North Leominster, and I think some of the city lots here, if need be.
Just a reminder not to park it in the reserve spots. You were
Right,
told.
that's correct. Yeah, if you don't park in the ones that say you need a sticker. Any other community calendar stuff? If not, everybody stay safe from the storm coming, and we will have a motion to adjourn. Councilor Angelini was very quick, and I think Councilor Bedanza was right behind him. All those in favor of adjournment signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0. We are now adjourned.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.